Hi guys, my name is Megan McCall. I'm your MTSS lead for our elementary building.
And I'm Mika Busick, and I'm one of your model mentor teachers in the upper grades.
We're here today to share with you some PBIS information, some refresher to help clarify some points that you can find in our PBIS manual. So first, I'm going to talk about our behavior level matrix, which is found on page 8 and 9 of your PBIS manual that Mr. Roth emailed you, I believe, last week. What we really want to point out today are the different levels of behaviors. We have our level 1 behaviors, which are to be handled by that gen ed teacher, associate on the playground, whoever is coming in contact with that student having that behavior. That includes things like not following directions, not doing work, not listening. So you need to make sure that you're paying attention to where those behaviors are. Then we have our level 2 behaviors, which also, if a student has 4 or more level 1 behaviors in a day, that would be considered a level 2 behavior and require a behavioral referral form, which Mika will share with you in a moment. And then something we wanted to point out that is a level 2 behavior and not necessarily level 3 is arguing or talking back to a teacher. Although that may push some of our buttons, that is something that we are classifying as a level 2 behavior and needs to be documented as such. On the back of this form, we have our level 1, 2, and 3 consequences. There are multiple listed for each level, but you don't need to do all of them. Like level 1 had 6 different things you can do, I believe. You need to pick one. If a student is simply just talking out of turn once, you probably wouldn't call home for that. You might just give them a tally in your classroom. But if you continue to see those behaviors over and over, you need to make sure that you are having parent communication. That can be a text, an email, a phone call home, but we need to make sure that we are communicating with those parents, so if we continue to have problems, it's not a surprise to them.
Okay, once one of those behaviors has happened, a very important part of communication and documentation is this behavior referral form. And this form could be filled out by a classroom teacher, by a specialist teacher, or by an associate. So basically whoever is in contact with that student when the behavior takes place is the one that should be filling out this form, because they were the one that was there, they were the one that witnessed the incident and would have the most information as far as being able to fill this out. So everything that's on here is important, but I wanted to highlight a couple of things. First of all, this problem behavior section, it gives multiple possibilities to describe the behavior. Sometimes when I've been filling one of these out, I find myself thinking, it's more than one. It's not a big deal if you feel like the behaviors fell into more than one of these categories to circle more than one. But then it asks for the level 2 or 3. And again, if you refer to that paper that Megan just went over, the majority of the behaviors that you'll probably be filling out one of these forms for are going to be level 2. However, if it's the level 1 incident that has happened 4 or more times in a day, for example, blurting out, and the child has gotten 4 tallies in a day, then that bumps up to level 2, and they can get one of these behavioral referral forms, and then you would circle level 2, even if it was just 4 level 1 behaviors. Level 3, you are probably not going to be marking that a lot, because those are the very severe incidents that Megan referred to on that list, and those things are mostly going to be taken care of by Mr. Roth. So if that happens and a student is sent to Mr. Roth and it's an incident that he is handling in the office, he will fill out one of these forms and communicate with the parent and put the one form in the teacher's box so that the teacher has the needed communication, because sometimes things happen at recess and the teacher isn't aware of it. So if Mr. Roth handles a level 3, that will be in your mailbox. Another really important part here is the parent contact. I think it's very important that we remember that this piece of paper is not the parent contact. This piece of paper is the documentation of the incident. And yes, it does go home to parents, but parent contact is a phone call, an email, a dojo message, whatever best works for you, along with the date and time. And sometimes it might be just a quick message or email that just says, hey, your child had an incident at school today. They'll be bringing home a behavior referral form. Please ask them for it or check their bag. As far as the comments, those can kind of clarify things, but you don't have to get super wordy on the comments. If you have to write on the back or add a second sheet of paper, that's probably more than what you need to explain here. You could go into more detail with the parent in your call or your message to the parents. And then something that works for me to remember to follow up with this, like down at the bottom, it says, it tells you the white page, it's 3 carbon copies. The white one is the one that goes home to parents. The yellow one is the one that the teacher keeps for his or her records. And the pink one goes in Sue Phillips's box, where then she takes the information and puts it in the HEART data system. Something that works for me, just so I remember to follow up to make sure that this comes back home, is I take the yellow copy and I stick it so that it sticks out a little bit from the side of my plan book so that I see it there the next day, and then that next morning I remember to ask the child, did you return the parent, the behavior referral form? Did your parent sign it and did you return it? Because that is what is intended to happen. If you don't get the form back, but you have had a two-way dialogue with the parents, like maybe they respond to your dojo message or your email, or you've talked to them on the phone and you don't get it signed and returned, it's not the end of the world. The important thing is that you know that that parent has received this piece of paper home the night before. So either signed or having that two-way communication. But then for me, like after they've signed it and returned it, then I take the white copy that they've returned and the yellow copy, and then I file it in their folder for later documentation. So I hopefully haven't forgotten anything about this, but then Megan is going to explain why it's important when we fill these out. And like I said, Sue Phillips will enter them for documentation of any incident. If a child is getting these repeatedly, there is a next step. So Megan's going to explain that next step.
All right, so like Nika said, if you continue to have the same problem behavior with a student, we do have our problem solving packet. A lot of you may have filled these out for academic, but there is a behavior section marked on here, so we can use these to document those behavior problems or occurrences. So you can reach out to your PBIS person on your PLC. You can reach out to me as your internal PBIS coach, and we will definitely help you to fill these out. But like that behavior referral form that Mika went over, that is a piece of documentation. If we do move forward, the AEA will want to look at those and see what those problem behaviors are, what the consequences were. Are we communicating with parents and making sure that they're aware? So if you have any questions, if you need to fill one of these out, don't be afraid to reach out to somebody, because we need to make sure that we are documenting and being consistent with all of our behaviors. Thank you so much for listening.